So I'm Matthew Seven. I'm a fellow in the Center for Digital Strategies. I'm a T'16. With me is Liz Hartey, who's a T'05, who's the head of product integration for Beats, and is also overseeing portfolio and product strategy for Beats along with Apple. Thanks for being here.
Great.
I'm going to ask you a few questions today. I kind of want to hear a little bit about your path, how what you did after Tuck initially, and how you found your way over to your current role.
Sure. Well, I have a long career as that of a management consultant. I started out prior to Tuck at American Express in their strategic planning group, where I worked launching emerging technologies in payments and loyalty with Amex Travel and Retail Partners, and that really sparked my passion for strategy. So when I went to Tuck, part of my recruiting focus was that around consulting, wanting to move beyond other industries, beyond just financial services, explore other sectors, and work on really exciting, thorny, intractable problems. So I ended up doing my summer internship with Booz in New York, and then joining them full-time after Tuck, where I worked for the next 7.5 years in the consumer media and digital practice. And there I really got to cut my teeth on a whole host of growth strategies where I advised senior clients, senior management in consumer goods, retail, media, entertainment, and some technology companies on how to grow their business transformation, operational effectiveness, and all of that with an emphasis on digital. So, passion for digital has been a long-standing theme throughout my career. About 2 years ago, I decided I wanted to get my hands dirty in much more of an operating role within a company rather than continuing to make recommendations and provide advisory services. So I had an opportunity for a dream job, and that's what brought me over to Beats.
So you get over to Beats and you get there. What did you feel when you first got to Beats? What had made Beats successful up to that point when you got there?
By the end of 2013, early 2014, Beats had already had a tremendous growth story. For a young upstart company out of LA, still very much highly entrepreneurial and a startup type of mentality there, Beats created a completely new category of mass market premium headphones that didn't really exist prior. You had much more professionally oriented, higher end audiophile types of headphones that were out there, incredibly premium priced, and then kind of the airplane executive wearing typically a Bose headset. But what you didn't have was what the magic that Beats brought together was a premium headphone with cultural relevance linked very much to audio, music, culture, and quite frankly with a fashion element that was current in what you saw on the street as well as what you saw into fashion. So that was Beats' entry point into it, was the launch of the first studio headphone, and then continuing to expand their line into other types of on-ear, over-ear headphones, and then more recently in-ear, sport, and with the advancement of wireless, increasing technology into the product.
How do you think Beats anchored people and customers into paying more for wireless headphones than they had been used to?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story, and it actually goes way back. It is intricately tied to that of the trends in the history of the music industry. Beats by Dre was founded by Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. Jimmy Iovine, a long-standing music industry executive who was co-founder of Interscope Records and then later chairman of Interscope Geffen, had produced phenomenal acts throughout his career, worked with John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, helped develop U2, Rattle and Hum, partnered with Dr. Dre to launch The Chronic at a time when the radios wouldn't give airplay to some of the songs. And Dr. Dre as well is another pillar in the musical industry. So starting out with NWA and then moving on to Death Row Records, launching that label, and then Aftermath Entertainment, where he's worked with acts such as Eminem and 50 Cent as well. So the two of them, back around 2006, 2007, were looking at the state of the music industry and seeing that, through a number of different trends that are out there, the business was incredibly challenged in what might be new avenues. And one of the things that they noticed was particularly around sound quality, that the perfection and the pristineness of the sound that they were hearing in the recording studio was completely lost on the end consumer. And degraded not just by file compression as we move to kind of digital file formats, but also by the speakers and the headphones that were delivering the sound. And what they wanted to do with Beats was to build a product that was designed, that was attuned to let consumers hear all the music that these guys were hearing in the studio.
It sounds like a lot of it has to do with both Dre and Iovine being involved and pushing forward kind of the trend in the culture, along with some engineering, and so now you create this trend. How do you ensure the long-term sustainability of that trend?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting now that I would say Beats has moved into probably the second phase of their incarnation. The first phase was, yes, that one that started with very visionary co-founders, and not that dissimilar from the story of Apple, founded by Steve Jobs, a very visionary founder. And now having built out category leadership in a number of different headphone categories, Beats has now cemented themselves as a formidable player to stay in headphones. I think this next phase now becomes one that is incredibly exciting from a product development and technology standpoint, as trends such as Bluetooth interactivity, wireless connectivity, active noise canceling, other types of features and formats increasingly become embedded into that ecosystem and that experience. And so delivering in a much more advanced hardware and software solution is the future direction of the market, and where Beats is very excited to continue to grow, particularly now as part of Apple.
And what does Apple enable Beats to do that Beats could not have done otherwise?
Well, there are few companies with as fantastic and larger growth stories that is Apple, right? Apple has for years touched on the lives of the consumers, whether it's the launch of the first Mac computer, the introduction of the iPhone, the iPod, iTunes, and how we listen to music. There have been many touch points where Apple has dramatically conformed that of consumer life. And Apple's an incredible engineering company that delivers, world-class standards, not just around ID and design and innovation, but also pushing the envelope on the engineering solution and product and devices that are being developed. So I think the real exciting opportunity for Beats is to be able to tap into that broader ecosystem with access to world-class engineering, global reach, leverage and scale. Apple Retail has transformed how we shopped. So I think there are a number of different ways through which the Beats story and the Beats products will really achieve kind of the step change evolution in this next phase in partnership with Apple.
And you were mentioning software before.
Mm-hmm.
What are kind of the trends in software that you're keeping an eye on, and how do those relate to Beats?
Right. Well, there are a number of different trends that touch upon it. Connectivity, for one, so devices that are able to connect with other devices, and how they pair, whether it's headphone to speaker, multiple headphones to speaker, music players to speakers. That whole kind of audio connected ecosystem will become, I think, increasingly interesting in how audio and communication and music is shared. Trying to design a product that has different types of audio and acoustical profiles. So do you, for example, design a headphone that is tuned much more for the purity of high fidelity sound? Do you tune for one that allows for active noise canceling to be able to tap into and out of distant sound environments? What do you bring through as sound? What do you try and mask? So, it becomes very much an interesting design perspective around that. And that has hardware elements as well as software elements. And then increasingly, as we get into more of the content of music streaming across, right, the ability to be able to tap into that from multiple devices and smart devices, not just headphones as delivery, but potentially increasingly smarter devices that are able to tap into that, and in different ecosystems, be it the car, the home, et cetera. So I think there's an exciting frontier there.
Yeah, and another trend that the center is looking at this year, actually, our tech conference is centered around personalization. Is this something that Beats is also thinking about?
I think Beats has always thought about personalization, and even thought about personalization, not just from the technology, quite frankly, but the original Beats were at the heart all about personalization and personal expression. Beats is about, hearing what you want. It's about being who you want, expressing who you are as an individual. So that might have started with some of the form and the color and the design of the product, but increasingly that goes much more into how you use technology and digital to shape your own experience with the product.
Well, Liz, thank you for being here and giving such candid answers. And I think the future looks very interesting for Beats and Apple, and I know that people are very excited to see what comes next.